and I've been a trillist. I'm a bigger problem when I click the Skrillex. Murder on my mind, it's time to pray to God. My revolver, stop religions, the revolution. You wanna know my name to go and tell us all. You wanna know my game, suicide squad. Pistol on my waist, I might make a mistake.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2026 RPW Slammy Awards, the 10th annual Slammy Awards, where we will be honoring the best of Season 10. Now, Season 10 was a crazy one for a lot of reasons. One, we saw some returns, we saw some debuts, we saw some betrayals, quite a few of them. And we saw some banger matches. We also saw some new faces rise to prominence in RPW. We saw some old faces get their comeuppance. It was a wild ride. Not to mention, this was the longest season of RPW we've ever had. This one, I think, extended about a year and a half, close to it. About 14 months is how long the season actually ran, which was a little bit over schedule. We stretched things out a little bit. But overall, I mean, it was one of our most eventful seasons as well. So basically what we're going to be doing over the next 30 to 45 minutes is just honoring some of the best. Some of the awards were picked by the staff, and some of them, of course, were voted on by the Revolution faithful. Before we get officially into our awards for the night, I just want to kind of preface everything that's about to happen here. I want to thank everybody for all of their energy that they put into RPW this season. I want to thank the new people that came over. Going into a schedule in this game, you never really know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? You put a roster together. It never failed. Ultimately, there's going to be people that leave. There's going to be people that don't show up. There's going to be people that have personal fallouts with others. You know, you never know exactly what's going to happen. This was a season where there was a lot of that going on. So we really didn't know where this was going to go. And because of a few people that came over, because of a lot of people that stepped up from where they were on the card and elevated their work ethic and stepped up to another level, we ended up having a phenomenal year. So I just want to shout out to everybody that was a part of the roster this season. Even if you didn't win an award, hats off to everybody. This is one of my favorite seasons of all time, just off principle. What we're going to do right now is we're going to get into the first award of this show, which will be the Locker Room MVP Award. Now, this award is given away to a person who was a lead by example type of competitor. They gave everything they had every time they popped out. They used what we gave them creatively. They were an integral part of backstage conversation. You know what I mean? Communicating with management as far as their creative direction. You know what I mean? And even at the end of the season, adding on to what they were already doing. I'll dive into that in a little bit. The nominees for Locker Room MVP: Ed Coop, Troy Mason, Shane Adams, Jackal, and Enforcer. Some veterans in RPW, some veterans in the game in general. All of them were highly professional. All of these guys are world champions in some form or another in their career, and for good reason. But the winner of this year's Locker Room MVP award is none other than the main character, Troy Mason. Troy was one of those guys who, he kept conversations rolling in the locker room. It didn't really matter who we put him against. He always found a way to make things work. He started out the year coming off of that feud with Shane Adams, elevated Shane Adams to another level. Again, his run with the Cutthroat Championship was something special. and then he ended up losing it to the same person that he took it off of in the beginning of the season in Noah Stone. And then we all saw what happened at the end of Mania. So just a great year for Troy. A lot of it, wasn't exactly what we had planned. He was never supposed to win the Cutthroat title back, by the way. Uh, when the season started, Brooks was never supposed to debut and be his manager at Mania. That was all stuff that we improv, but that just goes to show you what I'm talking about, the professionalism of one Troy Mason. So congratulations to him. Our next award that we're going to get into, it is the Iron Man Award. This award is given to a person who took on all their bookings this season with no shows. Um, Not only that, not only did they not no show, but they stayed through the whole entire season. This person also held multiple championships throughout the year, including the United States Championship. He was one of the winners of The World Is Yours, and he ended the season with a championship at Mania as well. The nominees, and again, you're going to see some of these names multiple times. Ed Coop. I think Coop has more nominations than anybody. GW, Julie Bailey, Shane Adams, and Levi Bliss. All of those people I just named did not miss a single show. They went above and beyond, and there were times where they even showed up and did things when they weren't booked, just to continue the stories. And it just made things easier from a booking standpoint when you have people who are willing to come out on weeks when they're not booked and continue a storyline or give you something to write into the show itself. But the winner of this award is your current Showtime Memorial Champion. I'm talking about the Hunter, Levi Bliss, this year's Iron Man Award winner. Congratulations to Levi, man. I can't say enough about the effort that he put in. We interviewed him a couple times earlier in the year. Um, he's that guy. I put him in the spot where we see Jackal at right now, where you have that one guy who hasn't won the world title yet. He's done everything else there is to do. He's, I don't know how many Slammies he's got now, but he has the resume for a Hall of Fame, and it seems like the world title is the only thing missing. So maybe season 11 will be his time. Nonetheless, congratulations to Levi Bliss. Now, our next award is the Breakthrough Superstar of the Year. This one's a little tricky, even to put together nominees sometimes because of what the word breakthrough means. Because, a lot of times we have veterans from other places come in and, you want to consider them a breakout, but they already had their breakout somewhere else. Um, and this category this year was really difficult because you had guys who came from other places, but they were already known. But as far as RPW was considered, this was their breakout, and this was the moment that we could see propelling them into the main event scene. We had three nominees for this award. Braden Bliss, who, if I'm not mistaken, may have won Breakout Star last season. Great Divine of the New Era, of course, and Moxley. And the winner is none other than the new RPW Intercontinental Champion, Moxley. I can't say enough about this guy, man. I don't like to dive into it. We talked about it a little bit on the Mania wrap-up show, but Moxley is just one of those guys who he's a real one, man. He's a good dude to talk to off the record, and he really genuinely loves this shit. He was going through a lot personally through the course of the season, but whenever he was able to do his thing, he showed up, he showed out. He was early, he was ambitious. He always had input backstage, good communication. Um, like I said, he does all the things that we look for in a champion here in RPW. We don't have to tell him what to do, when to do it. He takes initiative in his story, in his booking. He commits full send to everything we give him. Moxley is another guy that I can see in the world title picture coming up for season 11. That's why he is the breakout star of the year. As far as people who just came into RPW a year or less ago and are really on the fast track to the top, he's definitely at the top of that list. So again, shout out to Mox, breakout star of the year. Now let's get into the next award, which will be the comeback superstar of the year. Now, this award is given to a competitor who was once in RPW, made their return, and made a huge impact in doing so. We have four nominees for this award this year because we did have a lot of people pop back up, especially towards the end. We had Julian Valdez, which I guess technically, he was Kenzo Blackheart before, but we can't just overlook the fact that it's the same guy. But Julian Valdez, comeback superstar of the year nominee. Titan, who Titan was a tag team champion here way back 7, 8 years ago, Revolution Mania 3, when he was teaming with Dark and Graves. Shooter J, who is a former world champion, multiple time cutthroat champion, let me see, United States champion, and he was the Showtime Memorial champion up until Mania, of course. And last but not least, Allison Black. A great year for her coming back, um, mending a lot of fences there, mending a lot of bridges. The way she left kind of left a bad taste in her and management's mouth last season. She pops back in just in time this season and had a little great singles run there, feud with Q. Um, a couple of battles mixing it up there with Cat Knight. And then, she would get into the tag team thing with Matt T. But because he was back for the entire season, we have to give it to the one and only Shooter J. Um, Shooter Shooter had a great year, man. He came back. He played antagonist to Sammy Black for the better part of the beginning of the season. Then he went on the Showtime Championship run. He had the feud with Chris Connolly that was really good while it lasted. And then, of course, the Bliss Brothers in the ladder match at Mania. Shooter J, comeback star of the year for this season. Next, we get into the award for Best Newcomer. Now, this award by no means means rookie, okay? Um, this award is for a competitor who is having their first season, just completed their first season in RPW, and made the biggest impact in doing so. The nominees for Best Newcomer: Original Joe, Great Divine, and Mad T. And the winner of the Best Newcomer award, none other than Mad T. Hard to argue that. One, it was a debut that nobody really saw coming. Again, middle of the season, Allison Black had just came back. Out of nowhere, Mad T comes in. And again, like I said, we have unexpected things that happen throughout the season. The only thing that made sense, of course, after that was, we put them together. We put them in the tag team division, let them do what they do best, and they have dominated since that moment. Shout out to Matt T. And again, he's in position to do some big things. He's already collected a lot of gold around this game. I look forward to seeing him do just that in the coming seasons, and maybe we even see the Mad family grow beyond just him and Allison Black. You never know. The next award is the OMG Moment of the Year. I kind of put the graphic up there a little too quick, but that's okay. The nominees for this award, by the way, this was the first fan-voted award of the show. The RPW faithful had to vote between Raw returning to RPW, myself turning on Australia at Cash Out, Ed Coop cashing in to win the RPW World Title at Inferno, the Enforcer turning on TVC, and the debut of Mad T, who we just talked about. Of course, you can see Ed Coop's cash in on Sherry K. was the winning moment. Um, I gotta say that it wasn't that huge of a shock to me that he cashed in. I really feel like Raw returning to RPW was the most shocking moment because it was something that we talk about shit that wasn't planned this season. That definitely was not planned. Ed Coop's cash in, I can tell you now from a creative perspective, pulling the curtain back, this was something that I put in before last season even started. It didn't happen until like 4 or 5 months into the season. But this was the only thing that I told my creative team that I was adamant about. After everything that Coop had gone through trying to win the world title and losing it because of the World is Yours briefcase, it only made sense for him to kind of complete his story in a way by cashing in with the very same briefcase on Sherry Kay, whose husband was the one that cashed in, the one that he was facing when he got cashed in on last time. So I mean, it made sense. It just made sense in a lot of ways. And that was the only thing that I forced into creative was I wanted Ed Coop to win the World is Yours and cash that shit in. So to me, it wasn't that shocking. Um, all the moments on this were written in to happen, except for Mad T debuting and Raw returning. So that's my perspective on that. But nonetheless, the fans are loving Ed Coop. So he wins that award. Of course, not to take anything away from him, but I just wanted to throw that disclaimer out there. Um, yeah, big moment for Ed Coop, and that's not the last time we're going to talk about him in this show. He's got several nominations. He's got a few more coming up, actually. All right, the next award is going to be the Golden Mike Award. This one was also fan voted. Now, for the Golden Mike Award, plainly put, it's for the top talker. It's the guy with the that showed the best mic skills. It's the guy who, no matter what the match was, even if he wasn't in a match, knocked it out the park every time, every single time. Every time they touched the mic, you knew that they were going to convey one hell of a story. And that's exactly what all of these people did, but only one could win. You had the choice to vote, ladies and gentlemen, between Gypsy, Mad T, Shane Adams, Noah Stone, and Australia. Those two at the top, they've already won this thing before. But the RPW faithful was heard, and the winner of the Golden Mike Award was none other than Shane Adams. Um, what can I say about this guy that we haven't said already? I mean, he uh, he was the guy that we brought in. He could have been nominated for Best Newcomer, honestly. He should have won that. But it was the fact that he showed up at the end of last season. Um, so this technically wasn't his first season. This was his first full season, and he came into it as a champion, and he held the Intercontinental title the entire season. Longest Intercontinental champion reign we've ever seen, and probably ever will see. And he deserved it. He knocked it out of the park. He was punctual. He was fully involved in the creative process as much as it could be. He brought in his own stable, the new era. I mean, what can I say about Shane Adams that hasn't been said, man? I'm sure we're going to get to talk about him some more because, much like Ed Coop, Shane Adams has a lot of nominations here tonight. Alrighty, the next award that we're going to get into is the award for Rivalry of the Year. Now, there were a lot of really good feuds that took place in RPW this season, but these are the ones that stood out to us and made the most impact. We start off, of course, with the man we just talked about, Shane Adams versus Troy Mason, self-explanatory. New Era versus the Mad Family, self-explanatory. Mox versus the New Era. New Era all over this category. Self-explanatory. That story there carried half of the season from the time Mox won the briefcase for the IC title to us thinking his season was over in real life and in kayfabe. and then him ultimately winning. Levi Bliss versus Braden Bliss started all the way back at the beginning of the season when Braden was the United States champion. Levi won the briefcase, cashed in. There was a whole thing with Matt Storm. And then we end up with Bliss Brother versus Bliss Brother again at Mania with the Showtime title on the line. It's pretty poetic. And then, of course, Australia versus Blake Williams. Now, this category, all of these feuds, with the exception of the two New Era feuds, went pretty much the whole season long. Blake Williams cost Australia the world championship at last Mania by accident. And then the tension from that bubbled over, and we saw Blake just say, fuck the Hustle Cartel, essentially. Um, and then that carried all the way into Blake Williams eventually helping Australia defeat me at Mania somehow. When you spin it like that, uh, you know, yeah, Blake Williams versus Australia wins rivalry of the year. Masterfully done, if I do say so myself, because I did pin the entire thing. Um, yeah, this was exactly what we needed it to be. With Australia being, coming off a season where he was world champion for a majority of it, him being the top gun in Hustle Cartel, us breaking Hustle Cartel apart. This was exactly what we wanted out of this feud. I wanted to elevate everybody in Hustle Cartel. Noah Stone, we did that. Matt Storm, we did that. Blake Williams, we did that. Every single one of them touched championship gold or was around championship gold all season long. And that's all we could really ask for. Now we're moving in a new direction where, we're looking at different stables. We're looking at different tag teams now. So this right here was a very pivotal part of that, moving into the new era, moving away from the Hustle Cartel and TBC and the Truth. We'll get more into that in just a second, because the next award is for Tag Team of the Year. Now, there were a lot of tag teams that we had a lot of tag teams this season that kind of fizzled out, but there were three teams that were constantly there in rotation for the tag team championships, are doing things individually and just crushing it every time. The nominees for Tag Team of the Year: New Era, Great Divine, and it was usually Great Divine and Damian Wolf, or some combination of Great Divine and Tate Evans. Either way, Great Divine was a constant. I feel like if Shane Adams was the leader, Great Divine was definitely number two in that group. And he had himself a great season. I'm not going to lie. I'm expecting big things out of him. Mad Family, of course, still currently the RPW Tag Team Champions, and Red Ed Connection, Tyler Red and Ed Coop. Now, I would argue, even though they held Tag Team Gold, they had better seasons as single competitors than they did as a tag team. Because as a tag team, the Mad Family defeated both of the teams that they're nominated with here multiple times. They had winning records against both of them, and they went through both of them to still be the tag team champions going into the off season. And that is why your tag team of the year is none other than the Mad Family. It just makes sense. Again, one tag team championship reign. New Era did not get a chance to hold the tag team titles. Mad Family took the titles from Red Ed Connection, and they beat them multiple times. They also beat them in singles competition. I mean, it just makes sense. Allison Black and Matt T, absolutely great season for both of them. And we'll see what they do going into season 11. The next award kind of follows the same path. It is the award for Faction of the Year. Now, in this season, we saw some factions split up. We saw some factions form. But ultimately, when you look at Faction of the Year, you have to look at everything that they did now. This isn't just tag team championships. This isn't just what they did together. It's what they did individually as well. And, yeah, New Era, you have TVC, and you have the Truth. You have two factions there that aren't even together anymore. But They accomplished. If you put all their accomplishments together under one person, it's a Hall of Fame resume in the season, basically. TBC and the Truth, in different ways, all held tag team gold, singles championships. But the winner of Faction of the Year for the second time, and again, this is why we're moving on from certain factions, because they've won this award. It seems like it's been either Hustle Cartel or the Truth every year for the last 3 or 4 years to win this award. This year is no different. The Truth wins Faction of the Year. The good news for the other factions in RPW, this is going to be the last time, because the only members left of the Truth are Red Dead Connection. So yeah, but if you look at what they did, man, Tyler Red and Ed Coop as the tag champions, Coop winning the World Is Yours briefcase for the world title, Tyler Red going on winning the television championship, Coop becoming the world champion. He lost the tag title and cashed in to win the world title in the same night. So technically, Ed Coop was a champion the entire season. Every day of the season, Ed Coop had a championship on him until the very last one. So, you look at that, you look at what Troy did with the Cutthroat Championship, an incredible reign he had there, banger matchups. He started out the year feuding with Shane Adams. The Truth and the New Era were feuding. It just made sense here. The Truth, once again, a great season. And now, this is the part where we get into what I consider the majors, right? We have all these awards, but there's 5 awards that are super prestigious. Male Superstar of the Year, the Female Superstar of the Year, the Heel of the Year, the People's Champ Award, which is the Babyface of the Year, basically, that's voted by you fans, and Match of the Year. Those are the big 5 to me. Those are those awards that everybody can't get. You know what I mean? You got to be an elite company to get those. But before we get into those, we do have to make another announcement here. Coming up, you're going to see the date announced for the RPW Hall of Fame ceremony. As mentioned at Mania and mentioned on the wrap up show for Mania, the 2026 Hall of Fame class will be Jackal, our new RPW World Champion, finally completing the Grand Slam, holding every championship in RPW by getting the big one. We got Panther, who was his storied tag team partner, the first female Intercontinental Champion in RPW, um, an NXT Revolution Champion, and just an all-around good energy person to have in the locker room. And then, of course, headlining the class would be none other than the Raw Truth himself, finally returning to RPW, got the win over the Architect Ryan Rigby in a battle of veterans at Mania. And now that he's back in the loop again, he can finally go in his rightful place in the RPW Hall of Fame. That will be in 2 weeks, right here on the RPW YouTube channel. Please subscribe, follow, and turn notifications on so you can know when everything is going down with RPW. I'd also like to announce that starting season 11, RPW Indie Fight Night and all of our pay-per-view broadcasts will be airing right here on the RPW YouTube channel. So you definitely do not want to miss that. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. The Hall of Fame ceremony coming up. We'll see all 3 of our Hall of Famers take their induction. And, of course, we're going to see maybe some surprises coming in to induct them. So you definitely don't want to miss that. Again, that will be right here on the RPW YouTube channel coming up in 2 weeks on Sunday, August 2nd. And now, let's get back into the awards. Let's get back to what we came in for. It's time for the Big 5 awards. The next award that we're going to get into is the Match of the Year. There were a lot of banger matches this season. There were a lot of matches that we expected to be incredible and weren't. There were some matches we weren't expecting to be the bangers that they were, and they just stole the show altogether. The match that won match of the year was definitely one of those that just stole the show out of nowhere. The nominees: the Revolution Mania 10 main event for the RPW World Championship, Three Stages of Hell, Jackal versus Ed Coop. Braden Bliss versus Matt Storm with the RPW US title on the line. That was at The World Is Yours. The first pay per view main event of the year, the Ultimate Sacrifice Scramble match for the World Championship. It was Sherry Kay, Julie Bailey, Jackal, who ended up being champion, Mox, and Noah Stone. And then the Revolution War Games match, New Era, Shane Adams, Great Divine, and Tate Evans versus Jackal, Shooter J, and GW. Crazy enough that Jackal ended up in 3 of the 4 Match of the Year nominees here. And unfortunately, he's not going to win any of them. But I will say this. The Ultimate Sacrifice Scramble match was a crazy match for a lot of reasons. Mainly because Jackal, Mox, and Nova Stone all in there. They all ended the season as champions, regardless of the outcome of that match. So that was great foreshadowing by us to put them there, and then for them to live up to being put in that position. But the winner of Match of the Year is none other than Braden Bliss versus Matt Storm at The World Is Yours. This match was the opening contest of The World Is Yours. And, you know, we expected this to be the start of a great feud between these two, but we had no idea they were going to come out and tear it up the way they did. The back and forth, promo-wise, was one of the best we saw all season. They both wanted this match so much, and they made it really difficult for us to pick a winner there. With Braden just starting out his reign, but Matt Storm being the veteran that he is, of course, eventually he ended up with the title anyway. This was the match that decided that. Matt Storm was never supposed to be the United States champion at all this season. But we knew Braden had to lose it eventually. So once we cooked up everything that we had going on with the U.S. title, we had to make a way for Matt Storm to get in there. This match was a reason that management had to kind of rewrite some things and made sure he got a touch with that title, because this was a barn burner. So shout out to Braden Bliss and Matt Storm, an incredible matchup they had there. It's no secret they both ended up in championship matches at Mania. Congratulations, guys. Well done. Well done. The next match would be, or the next award, would be for the heel of the year. This is the guy that just made everybody absolutely sick. The one competitor that took some of the sleaziest tactics, just made people hate him. Did his job very well to the point where fans in the arena legit showed up to see them lose every week. Your nominees for heel of the year: Gypsy, Shane Adams, and Mad T. Need I say more about those 3? I mean, they just generate heat and handle heat so well. But the winner of the Heel of the Year award for this season is none other than Shane Adams. Back again for yet another award. And, his Intercontinental Championship reign was the definition of heel work. It was very JBL WWE title reignish. You know what I mean? There was a lot of shady tactics that went into it. He had, of course, the New Era around him to help protect him and, do all kind of things to make sure he stayed champion. And every pay-per-view, people tuned in to see this man lose the Intercontinental title, and they watched show after show after show after show of him leaving with that championship until the very end. Shout out to Shane Adams, man. Another award won here. And, I mean, he's going to have a lot more of these coming next season. I mean, as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, this guy, again, he's going to be a world champion. I don't know when, but it's coming. It's definitely coming. Now that the IC title's off of him, the sky's the limit. The next award will be the inverse of this one. It is the Babyface of the Year. We call it the People's Champ Award. It is voted on by you, the RPW faithful. Now, your nominees were Jackal, Tyler Red, Ed Coop, and GW. All these guys were workhorses throughout the year. All of them held championship gold at some point. Um, and all of them were baby faces throughout the entire season. And they often got crowds behind them. They got a lot of views as well for the content that they did put out. But this was voted on by the fans, and for the second time tonight, thanks to the RPW vote, once again, Ed Coop. Ed Coop voted the OMG moment for the cash in earlier, of course, by you, the fans. Um, winning as a part of the Truth Faction of the Year. And now he's going to get his third award of the night for the People's Champ, voted by you, the fans. I mean, I can't argue against it. Babyface of the Year. The people voted for it. And to add, this was probably the most lopsided poll that we put out for an award. We only put out 3, but this one was a landslide victory. Like Coop had 90%. He had 90% of the votes for this award. So yeah, again, Ed Coop has arrived. He's a guy who elevated from the middle of the card to the very top, and I think he's going to sit in that main event bubble for quite some time now, especially after the outpour from the fans willing him to this Slammy win. All right, and now we're going to get into our final 2 awards of the night. These are the big ones. Now we're going to name the top 2 superstars of the year, both male and female. And we're going to start that off with the female superstar of the year. Now, we saw a lot of great female talent this year. We saw Kat Knight come back to RPW briefly. We had appearances by Dragon Queen. But as far as females that were on the roster for at least half of the season, and put up some great matches and had some key accomplishments, these are the nominees for Female Superstar of the Year: Julie Bailey, Allison Black, and the Gypsy Freak. Now, Gypsy has won this award, I believe, multiple times now. And I would say that this may not have been her best season. It really wasn't her fault, but from an accomplishment standpoint, after doing some of the things she's done, like retire Sammy and end a record-breaking U.S. title reign and all this stuff in her past, this was the first season where she didn't really have that Hall of Fame caliber accomplishment within a season. Julie Bailey, of course, she's just a workhorse. She's there every week. She does her thing. She did hold the television championship for a little bit. Again, she was in that Ultimate Sacrifice match. She was a key part of a lot of the big events for this season. And then we have Allison Black, who talked about her a little bit earlier. She came in about halfway through the season. She had a great feud with Big Q. She had a great feud with Troy Mason. And then she went into the tag team stuff with Matt T and just turned up even more from there. I'm excited to see what happens next season with the Mad family, especially now that they have 3 Slammies between the 2 of them going out of the show, because your female superstar of the year is none other than Allison Black. Again, if we're talking about consistency, we're talking about quality of work, if we're talking about accomplishment, all the boxes are checked. Well, congratulations to Allison Black, female superstar of the year. And this isn't the first time she's won this, but it's the first time in a long time that she's won it. She's got two female superstar of the year Slammies now on her mantle. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, the male superstar of the year. Now, the five men I'm about to name for the nominees had absolutely incredible seasons. Um, some of these guys were champions. Some of these guys were champions. All of these guys look like they were champions more than they weren't. Um, Starting with Shane Adams, held the Intercontinental Championship the entire season until the very last show. That is 14 months, by the way. No, over that, because he had it before the break. So about a year and a half, Shane Adams was the Intercontinental Champion until Mox took it away from him. Blake Williams, of course. Coming in with the whole Hustle Cartel thing, the tension with Australia, the match that they had at Inferno, his performance at the Rumble, nearly winning it, and then ultimately defeating Matt Storm for the U.S. title at Mania. Ed Coop, again, I've been bragging about him the entire show. Tag team champion when the season started, lost the tag titles, won the world title the same night. Essentially, him and Shane Adams, they were both champions the entire fucking season, which is insane. Of course, Troy Mason, another big one, had the Cutthroat title at one point early on in the season, ended up losing that championship, got it back, took it to a whole nother level, lost it again at Mania, and then he had one of the most shocking turns. Honestly, could have been OMG moment. We had a heel turn and a debut at the same time by Troy Mason at Mania to cap off this season. All of these guys are worthy of winning this award, but it kind of goes without saying because management was so high on him, and clearly the fans were because you guys voted him to win 2 awards already. It's only right he gets his third as an individual, his 4th overall. Ladies and gentlemen, male superstar of the year, the man of the year, period, Mr. Ed Coop. Coming into season 10, like I said, I gave management, I gave my writing team a lot of leeway as far as what they wanted to do. And the only thing that I was 10 toes down on for the whole season, the only thing I told them that had to happen, 100%, Ed Coop has to win The World Is Yours and win the World Heavyweight Championship. I wouldn't accept anything else. He had to win the world title at some point. I wanted him to be the one to take the title off of Sherry Kay. I didn't know when, but I knew that's what I wanted. And he didn't let me down. He took it. He ran with it. Again, he did exactly what I expected him to do, and then some. When you make a decision like that so far ahead of time, like I'm talking like 2 months before the season even started, you're putting a lot of trust in the guy. And time again, he just showed that it was a great idea. So shout out to Ed Coop. Again, 3 individual awards plus a part of the Faction of the Year award. That's basically 4 Slammy wins for him just in this show. He deserved it, man. He honestly deserved it. Couldn't happen to a better dude. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is me putting a cap on what has been a very special 10th season for us. And going forward to season 11, again, we're living in a space now where there is no more truth. There is no more Vigilante Club. There is no more Hustle Cartel. The 3 biggest stables, I would say the 3 biggest stables in RPW history from a accomplishment standpoint are no longer a thing. So New Era, Mad Family, or anybody else out there that's looking to build a stable are looking to make their mark in RPW, or if you haven't been a world champion or anything like that, this season 11 is going to be the season to get there. Season 11 is the season to put in the work because we're coming into this thing with a lot of stuff that was established in years past no longer there. So a lot of things are wide open. So what we're going to be looking at is just like this past year. We're looking to see who wants it more. Ed Coop became world champion because he wanted that shit. Shane Adams was Intercontinental champion for a full season because he wanted that shit. Noah Stone had his hands on championships all season long because he wanted that shit. The Bliss brothers were around championships because they wanted that shit. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for people who want to be faces of this company. And if that sounds like you, show me. Show us. Season 11 is going to be something special, man. Again, in 2 weeks, we will be back for the RPW Hall of Fame ceremony. Myself, all of the inductees and their inductors will be appearing right here on this very YouTube channel to bring it all to you. And breaking after the Hall of Fame ceremony is over on August 2nd, right after that is when we're going to start announcing season 11, how it's going to start, where it's going to start, and what show it's going to start with. So until then, everybody, enjoy your time off. Congratulations again to all the winners. Thank you to everybody who put into this season. Thank you to everybody watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Continue to support. We got a lot of big things cooking up. We're going to start producing RPW merchandise again. We got so much great shit about to happen in season 11. Also, stay tuned for the GM mode coming up by Justin Nix. We got a lot of good stuff cooking up, y'all. I'm excited. I really am. And I couldn't do it without y'all. So normally I would end every broadcast or video that I do by saying the hustle continues, but tonight I'm going to end this by saying long live the revolution. Good night, folks.